Starting a business is hard. Staying in business is even harder. Here are some stories from some of our members on the South Side. My name is Al Ariola Jr., President and CEO. I'm joined by our Chairman of the Board, Russell Yeager. The South Chamber is pleased to present our podcast, The Business. Hello, once again, welcome to The Business. I am joined today by our Chairman of the Board, Russell Yeager, alongside our new guest, Mr. Mike Sireno from Dos Sirenos Brewery on Ceballos. Russ, you want to get started with some questions for our guest?
Yeah, you bet. Tell us a little bit about the brewery. What do you guys have going on, and how's everything going here during the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic's made things a little challenging,
Sure.
of course, but and of course we're making beer. We also have a full restaurant, so that helps us. And actually, we're able to be open right now at 50% capacity, so that's a good thing.
So the restaurant helped the situation?
The restaurant has definitely helped us.
And that's what I think maybe the bar industry was hit hardest, was if you weren't serving food, you're kind of odd man out. So was that, I know at the beginning, was that always going to be a big piece of the business, or did it become a bigger piece of the business?
Well, initially we just wanted to open up a brewery and have food trucks out there, but our landlord wanted to have whatever establishment was there to have a full kitchen. So
Gotcha.
that kind of changed our business plan a little bit. So, but from the get-go, when we were open, we planned on having a restaurant, and so we did open with a food and beverage permit. So that's what allows us to open right now.
So I've come to know your business. We were talking about it a little off camera, but it's been about 10 months now?
Yeah, December 27th was our first official day.
Okay. And so I know a little bit about your story, is that you're the brewmaster, right? If you will, you're the one that...
I don't ever call myself a brewmaster because
Gotcha.
there's still a lot for me to learn, but I'm the head brewer.
Okay, I got you. And so then your chef component, is there another team involved in that?
We do have a chef. We've got a chef that's he runs our kitchen. He's still part of the whole operation.
Gotcha.
But I can't take credit for the cooking.
Gotcha.
Well, tell us a little bit of how you got into brewing. It sounds like it was something that maybe started as a hobby and turned into a business.
It was a hobby. Started over 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. So before it was cool.
Before it was cool. Before it was cool. And yeah, there was only a few of the major beers out there, and every now and then you might find something else available. And had a couple of cousins of mine that were home brewers, and we had a family reunion. They brought in some beers one time. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I might want to do something like that. So talked to them a little, and next thing you know, I started brewing little 5-gallon batches. And at the time, my son was 6, so he'd hang out with me while I was brewing the beer. I did it one time in the house, and after that, Carrie said, out of the house with that. So we'd have to sit outside to brew. But anyway, he'd sit outside with me the whole time, and with me while I brewed my beer.
Well, I'm even more fascinated that you did it again before it kind of became cool. How easy was it to get that kind of equipment and the stuff you need?
Well, I lived in Austin at the time, and there weren't very many places around, but there was a guy that worked for Dell Computer, kind of retired from there. He was a home brewer, couldn't find a place to buy anything, so he opened up a homebrew shop.
Gotcha.
And so you could go buy ingredients from them.
Okay.
But, so I brewed, like I said, about 20 years ago, and then kind of got started with this part of it. Long story short, we moved from Austin and moved to Louisiana for a little bit. Then we moved back to San Antonio with my company, doing different things. Got real busy, couldn't brew for a while. But 7 years ago, for Father's Day, Jacob, my son, bought some ingredients to make a batch of beer together for Father's Day. And I was like, I didn't know it made that big of a deal with you, or made that big of an impact back then. But he liked it. That got the fire started again, and of course he was 6 when I started, and then at this point in time he was 21, so he could drink, and so the beers went away a lot faster. So we started making bigger batches. So we had to start making bigger batches, and one bigger batch led to another, and
what was it at first? Giving it away to friends, family, and
mostly friends and family.
And then they told you have to do this. Or?
Well, everybody said, well, you make good beer, and so. But that's friends and family.
Sure.
So it's always they probably don't want to hurt your feelings, right? So we decided we started entering some competitions and won some medals. Won first place on the San Antonio Homebrew Festival with our Weiss guys, Hefeweizen.
Okay.
And after we
Nice.
did that, we're like, okay, maybe we got something here, so we can go ahead and open up. So then we started moving forward with the plan.
So I'm assuming your son and yourself are the dos in Sirenos?
That's the dos.
Okay.
Yes.
The two of you, huh?
That's why it's two mermen.
Two mermen. But the logo is impressive, man. Did you connect with the company, or did you already kind of had something sketched in your mind, what you wanted, or?
It was one of those deals that, of course, our last name's Sireno. It's Italian. And Sirenos mermaid. Mm-hmm. So Sireno being merman. But, it was one of those late nights, probably a few home brews in us, and talking about what are we going to call this thing, and so it's like, well, our last name means merman, so
let's go with that.
Let's go with that. And then there's two of us brewing, so there's the dose part of it.
But you guys look really lean and muscular in your logo.
Well, that my son is now, and that was me 30 years ago. So I went with the old version. Nobody wants to see a overweight merman.
So what do you got on tap right now? What are you guys brewing these days? You talked about the Wise Guys Hefeweizen, right? So what other things you guys have on tap right now?
Yeah, so most of our beers, or a majority of them, are German and Belgian style beers. So we just put the Wise Guys back on tap. We've got a Karas Dunkelweiss on tap, an Almathea Bock, a couple of Belgians. We got a Belgian triple and a dark strong ale. We also do, we've got a couple of IPAs, and so we try to do a wide variety, and some stouts as well. So,
have you noticed a fan favorite, a crowd favorite?
If the Hefeweizen is one of our number one sellers. I've also got a lager that's about to be back on tap that's pretty popular, a Dos Sirenos lager. The real light, refreshing beer. And we released a Kolsch a couple of weeks ago that we've almost sold out of. I'm making another batch of that already.
Well, I know you get seasonal, too. I remember there was a lot of hype when you were first out. Some people were clamoring about your banana beer. Was it banana?
Oh, we had 104 bananas.
Yeah.
That was not necessarily a seasonal. That might have been a one-off thing. Okay. There's a big story behind that. I don't know if we have enough time.
Yeah, we do. I do.
One,
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm more than curious.
Well, that was one of the first beers we brewed in the new system in there. Kind of a test batch just to make sure everything was working right.
Gotcha.
And the brew day went fine. Everything went into the fermenter fine. Go home, come back the next day, and our glycol chiller had frozen up, and the temperature in the fermenter was at 104 degrees.
Okay.
Which is not good.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, what does that mean?
But with that particular yeast, the warmer the temperatures, the more banana flavor you get out of it.
Okay.
When I opened the door to the brewery, it was like a banana boat just arrived in town. So
Chiquita bananas.
It was bananas. And so we got our glycol chiller running back again, got the temperatures cooled down, but it had brought out a lot more banana flavor into that beer.
Okay, so it was a happy accident.
It was a happy accident. I wasn't even sure 100% where you're going to be able to sell it or where it was going to turn out. But we said, well, let's let it see where it finished fermenting. And turns out it was very popular.
It was.
And trying to repeat that's going to be a tricky. But we also do some other seasonal things as well. We had a one we call a witch's brew, which is a Belgian wit that we added some Texas persimmon to that kind of changes the color up, makes it dark.
Gotcha.
And we'll probably do that again for Halloween and a couple other different things.
Nice. That sounds awesome. I'll have to come by and try a few.
Yeah, one of the other seasonals, I guess it's coming up, is Oktoberfest. So we've got two Oktoberfest beers that we're going to do, a Marzen and a Fest beer.
Oh, that's great. Well, look, I've obviously been keeping up, and I'll be honest with you, I live nearby the brewery, and every time I've gone by, and you guys have been busy. It's been busy. I'm kind of excited about that. One time, I almost told my wife, "You're gonna have to take me so I can just get in and get out," because I didn't want to have to deal with parking because you guys looked so busy. Has it been steady?
It has been pretty steady now since we've been able to open up as full as a restaurant. We had 6 weeks of shutdown where it was to go.
And I remember that.
And once we initially opened back up from that, it was a little slow because I think people were still a little tentative about going out and not how to practice the social distancing, making sure we were abiding by all the rules. But since then, it's definitely picked up. We're at 50% capacity on the inside, but we have the great patio outside area, and we keep at least 6 foot spacing between everybody and making sure you're wearing masks.
So you're right there on Cevallos, kind of near Blue Star. On that particular street of Cevallos, there's been a lot of changes maybe over the course of while you've been there. You want to describe what you're seeing in the neighborhood surrounding you?
There's a lot of growth going around there. of course, the Savalle Sloughs are right next to us. There's a empty lot next to us that's getting ready to build some more retail area. There's another apartment complex down towards 35.
Yeah.
There's a huge apartment complex there.
Near Alamo, South Alamo.
Yeah, on Clay Street, they're building a lot of townhomes. So there's just a lot of development in the area.
Just from the beginning of the year to now, there's just been a lot more density. So to speak. Yeah,
definitely.
You good?
So tell us a little bit about being in that neighborhood. How's the community? I guess it sounds like they're still supporting you pretty strong. How's that been?
It's been real nice. Most of the community has welcomed us and glad to have us in there. The building had been vacant for several years, and
rough shape. It was in rough shape.
It was in real rough shape.
Yeah.
More so than we thought. But we've got it fixed up now, and like I said, for the most part, everybody out there's been real receptive to having us in the neighborhood. I think we've got one or two that the live music tends to bother just a little bit. But we're trying to be good neighbors. We stop the music at 9:30 on Fridays and Saturdays, so it's not anything late.
That's early enough.
Right.
If you're living in the city, you can anticipate some noise.
Right,
yeah.
So is your son still really involved? I mean, do you guys run the business together? What is it like having a family business, running it together?
My wife and I are actually the owners of the business. My son and I are the brewers. So, and then we've got an assistant brewer as well. So I got to give him credit. He's stepped up and he does most of the brewing. I go in and say, okay, this is what we're going to brew now, and here's the measurements.
I got you.
And then the other two do most of the heavy lifting.
Well, I think where Russ is going with this, though, I mean, it sounds like it could be the basis of a reality show, a brewing family. I mean,
it could be. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm sure I know with my own family, I have had a father that's ran for public office, and when I helped run his campaigns, I definitely talked to him like my father, like with some emotion and anger, and maybe the professional line had been crossed a few times. Has that ever happened?
Well, yeah, I'd be lying if I told you everything just runs perfectly smooth.
Gotcha.
But there's moments like that. I think that's in every family, and whether you're working together or not, you have some issues like that.
Sure.
But for the most part, we both have the compassion of the brewing side of it. And want to make great beer. So, we may argue about the best way to get there sometime. But we both have the same goal.
One of the things that we are proud of here on the South Side, too, and with our chamber, is that a lot of our members are what we call like legacy family businesses. They've been in business for sometimes 30, 40, 50 years. So it's kind of there's a history of those family businesses being a big part of this community. So how do you see that, what do you see as the legacy for your business over the next few years?
Well, I'd love for us. We've only been in business, for 8 months now, but I would love for us to be a legacy business. And we've got a 5-year lease at this place with 2 more 5-year extensions. I definitely plan on being here through that period, and I'd love to have my son be able to take over the business, and who knows, maybe bring in his son or daughter down the road too. So we keep the Dos Sirenos. Maybe it turns into Tres or Quattro. I don't know. We'll see.
That's an idea. Well, I'm curious because I've seen some distillers, brewers. They end up maybe in a more industrial park, so to speak. When you were looking for a space, was it important for you to be in the city?
When we looked, I looked all over the city for different places, and one of the main things we wanted to do is we didn't have a big goal, at least initially, to be in distribution, but wherever we wanted to be part of the community. And the more I looked around different areas, I kept getting drawn back to this area.
That's great.
And I'll be honest with you, I looked at that building probably 3-4 times before we actually committed to move there. And just because of the shape of the building, I was like, I'm not real sure we're going to go into that.
Yeah, and I think that's the challenge most folks that want to come to the city. The property is going to have some hiccups that you're gonna have to fix.
But the thing is, if you can see past the facade and look at the potential of the building, and yes, it's going to take some hard work and a little bit of sweat equity to go in there, but it's definitely worthwhile. And like I said, it's just the whole feel of the community. That's what we decided we wanted to be part of and where we wanted to be.
Well, tell us a little bit about being part of the chamber and what how has that connected you with maybe customers or opportunities or education? What has it been like being a member with the chamber?
Well, there's definitely some exposure out there that that's one of the things, being new to the area and not knowing everybody else in the area. It opens up opportunities for lots of different people, lots of different businesses that maybe can help us in one way or another, and bring business into our location. We're getting ready to have another mixer at our facility this week, as a matter of fact.
Yes, we are. I'm excited about it.
So those are always opportunities to bring in potential customers, future customers, and also develop those relationships that we can help other businesses in our community for things that we need.
That sounds about right?
Yeah.
No, you've been an incredible chamber member. You've opened your doors to us for this is our second mixer now at your business, and with crowd control restrictions, that's simply why we were kind of limited in the summer. But now we're excited to get back out there. Safety distance, social distance. You want to explain just how you've been keeping your customers safe and your employees safe?
Yeah. So of course we've got all our signage posted on our doors. As soon as you walk in, we've got hand sanitizer at either one of our doors. Inside, we've got our tables. We didn't move all our furniture out and couldn't move them off to the side because we didn't have enough room in there. But basically, half of our tables are labeled as not available.
Gotcha.
And we're enforcing masks for all our employees and customers anytime you're inside, except for when you're seated at your table. Outside, similar thing, but the spacing is all our tables are spaced out at least 6 foot minimum. Most of them are more than that, and using the same protocols out there. If you're getting up, moving around, put your mask on.
Gotcha.
Like I said, we've got hand sanitizer stations throughout. Our tables are all, once group gets up, we go in and sanitize tables, chairs. We're using the QR codes for menus, so we're not passing out menus anymore. You're not handling any of that part of it.
Gotcha. Well, and during the pandemic, I remember at the beginning I was talking to Carrie, your wife, about how things were shaping up, and we were all dealing with the uncertainty of regulation changes and what was being limited and what. And I remember getting a sense that of fear, almost a little bit, of the unknown of where you guys did you start the business at the wrong time, maybe. I hope you don't feel that way anymore. I think you guys are doing okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was definitely some fear. I mean, just
all of us,
a little more history, not just because of that, but we signed a lease a year before, and it took us, instead of building in 4 months like we thought it was going to do, it took us 12 months plus a couple more months for some other things to get in there before we could open. So
you didn't have revenue.
So we didn't have any revenue at all. We'd been paying rent for over a year. So when we opened up, it's like, oh, great, we got a little positive cash flow coming in.
And
then boom, we get shut down. And when we had to go, but we had not been in business long enough to really have a good following or anything.
Sure.
So the to-go sales were very minimal. And after building up staff too, that was the other thing, is you hired all these people that you get a great staff on there, and you want to try to keep them working.
Right.
But when you don't have the business in there, it's a little difficult to do.
Well, I saw you kind of evolve a little bit into canning more, and I guess stepping up into trying to get
Oh yeah, so we were definitely canning and selling crowlers, which is 16-ounce cans, in the growlers as well to go.
Yeah.
And offer all our food products as to go as well.
Well, while we still have you here, I'm sure you're going to shout out to your family, but is there any folks you wanted to give some love to for helping out with the business and where you are today?
Well, of course, my family's put in a lot of equity and that sweat equity and dealing with me and some of my things that I was getting us to do or not do.
Gotcha.
Carrie would be the one that's like, okay, why did we get into this business again? Now Jacob and I, we're brewers. We want to brew beer, so we want to do that. But there's a lot of people in the beer community out there. Some of the other brewers have definitely helped with some guidance that we've had. Dustin at Roadmap.
It's a community, right?
But it's definitely a community.
Yeah.
And there's been times where if you need advice or you need some equipment. When we first opened up, we didn't have our keg washer up and running, and like I said, Dustin over at Roadmap, hey, bring some kegs over and get those cleaned for you.
That's competitors usually don't behave that way, right? That's
our first night, we ran out of a tape on our POS system, and guys from Kunstler run over and grabbed a few rolls of tape and brought them over.
That's awesome.
So it's definitely a great community out there.
Well, bringing up the brewery community, obviously through the pandemic, shifted maybe the way some people travel. But did you notice that there was little by little some folks that were coming as like brewery tours, if you will, that were just coming to see the San Antonio brewery scene?
There are some people. I think, of course, the whole pandemic's kind of slowed that down a little bit.
Sure.
Although just this past weekend, we've had a couple of people from groups from Houston that came through that wanted to come see San Antonio breweries. The unfortunate part is there's not very many of us that are open for in-house business.
Gotcha.
Because there's starting to be a few more that have, but there were just 3 of us for a little while.
And not everyone's doing food. Right?
And not everybody's doing food.
Right.
That's the problem, is a lot of them can only do to-go only.
Right.
Which is a struggle, but
Right.
And we're trying to actually the Craft Brewers Guild is working with trying to push the governor to ease those restrictions on the breweries and open those up.
Can you imagine if you didn't have to go? That would just been another blow.
And even with to go, there's already been several breweries across the state that have closed down.
They can't do it
because they can't. They're just not generating the revenue they need.
Do you see a future? You saw that I think it was Carbach that got bought out by a major distributor.
Yeah, Carbach did.
Do you see that as an idea, vision, or is it I'm going to always stay a local boy here?
I'd like to stay local, but it's would I like to grow to that point where somebody's
making an offer?
Yeah. Sure. Because that means we're successful and we're doing really well.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell you I don't want to get to that point.
Sure.
Do we want to necessarily sell and not be independent? I mean, I support the independent brewers and that whole cause behind that, and I feel like that's the livelihood, and you get the more creative side of the brewing industry by the independent brewers. So.
Gotcha. Russ, do you have any parting words? We're hitting here the minute mark.
No, we really appreciate you being a part of the chamber and being a part of our community. Breweries have a long history of bringing people together and building relationships in places like that, whether it's, maybe a slight drop in inhibitions or just people being willing to congregate in one place. It's a big part of our community to get together, and we just appreciate you being a part of that and letting us get together at your place when we can. So thank you so much for being a member of the South Chamber and being a part of what we're trying to build.
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Mike, so much for joining. I do especially want to thank you for setting up your business on the South Side. My wife and I enjoy your establishment. We enjoy the patio that is dog friendly. We have 2 little pups. So thank you for also I can't wait for this pandemic to slowly but surely end, and we can all gather, have some good music, have some good beers all together at your establishment. I also want to thank today, our episode was brought to you in part by Brooks. At Brooks, home is more than just a place to live. There's a wide range of living options at Brooks on the South Side in San Antonio, from apartments to family homes. When you live at Brooks, you're part of a growing community that includes retail, food and dining, beautiful outdoor green spaces, and health and wellness facilities. I want to thank Brooks for also being the best landlord, I always say, in San Antonio, Texas. This is where your Chamber of Commerce is officed, and this is where the Sidney Brooks studios are. Again, if you're interested in a podcast, please reach out to our chamber staff. I myself am available at al@southsa.org. Or you can simply call our office at 210-533-1600 and also visit our website at southsa.org. Keep your eye out for events like I mentioned with Dos Sirenos and other events that we have going on through the rest of the year. I want to thank our audience for joining us. I want to thank you, Mike. Thank you, Russ. You have been given the business from the South San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining us.